that day I sold 27 jigs that I all handmade. And I felt like I'd climbed Mount Everest. It was one of the coolest moments of my life. And it was like a drug. I wanted to share my journey on YouTube and teach.
In the latest episode of The Business of Creators, I speak to Jonathan Katz-Moses about his inspirational journey as a content creator and his highly successful product company.
It's led me to where I am today with, over 150 plus products that I've created, invented, patented. Many of them, more than 2/3 of them are manufactured right here in our 33,000 square foot facility. The feedback of being a creator is so much better than any company could ever get because I get comments, I get direct messages, I answer the same questions day in and day out. And so it's very simple to say, here's what people are unsure about, and here's something I could bring in that makes them confident in a buying decision because I've recommended it.
Plus, Billy Parks from Slow Ventures also joins us and explains why they've invested $2 million into the business.
I also think something is great signal when a creator has built actually a supply chain and has actually built their own warehouse and has actually, achieved velocity with product sales. That is signal for us at Slow where it's like, hey, look what this guy's built. That's not easy. And if they can do that, and we think that there's a lot of room to grow, it really shows the initiative.
This is an episode that takes you inside a killer content creator business and the investment powering the next chapter. So, Jonathan, let's start. Can you tell us all about the background to the business?
Well, about, I don't know, 12 years ago or so, I was a bartender. I had a construction company. I had a company that put up Christmas lights. And I was sort of in a hamster wheel of things that did not fulfill me. And I happened to be getting off a bar shift one night and was walking my dog and stopped a bunch of gang members from killing a couple. And I paid very dearly with my health. And I had this moment where I woke up on the pavement, covered in blood and surrounded by police and paramedics. And really was one of the lowest points of my life. But realizing I had lived through this and coming to terms with that over the next couple of weeks made me realize how short life was. And I'd had this dream of making things my entire life. I'd always been into it. When I was 14, I started my first business building car stereo speakers and installing them 2 years before I was allowed to drive here in California. And I was always into it. And so I just said, screw it. I walked away from everything. I left it all behind. I gave, my company had 50 employees. We're a big construction company. I hated it. I just gave it to my partner. I walked with basically the shirt on my back, as you say, and said, I'm going to make things. And I bought some tools and I took a 120 square foot shed that was at my house and ran power cords out of the house to the shed to power tools and started building things. And it was pretty shortly thereafter that I invented my first product and thought it was cool. And I had no money. I mean, I was maxing out credit cards and I said, well, I want to tell people about this. But at the time I thought that the regular person didn't have any power and that only mega corporations could launch products. And so I said, you know what, I'll post a YouTube video. I'll share a YouTube video and see if people like it. And that day I sold 27 jigs that I all handmade. And I felt like I'd climbed Mount Everest. It was one of the coolest moments of my life. And it was like a drug. I wanted to share my journey on YouTube and teach. And the being involved in a really active community was so just vibrant and fulfilling for me. And so it was just incredible to get that first hit. And it was something I've been chasing forever. And it's led me to where I am today with, over 150 plus products that I've created, invented, patented. Many of them, more than 2/3 of them are manufactured right here in our 33,000 square foot facility. So in a matter of 10 years, we've gone from a 120 square foot shed where I did everything to this 33,000 square foot facility, now 15 plus full-time employees, along with another half dozen really awesome fractional remote employees. And it's been a really incredible journey.
I mean, that is just an incredible story. And I'm excited to unpack it and learn more about the business. And you've reached a new milestone with the business now with the investment from Slow Ventures. So why now the time to raise capital?
Well, as you know, we've bootstrapped this business from day one. We're profitable, no debt, and we've been working really, really hard. A really important person to me, one of my mentors, said to me a few years ago, I said, well, I want to grow really fast. And he said, well, I don't know that now is the time. The only reason that you would want to raise money is if you can't survive without it, or you are leaving money on the table. And we've gotten to the point where we've grown 2 to 3 times every year for 10 years. And we started to get to the point where I'm choosing which products to let go out of stock so we can take the money from that and invest it in new development. And then we, do the new development. We got to let other things go out of stock so we can reinvest in that inventory. And we're delaying key hires. And there's so much more that I can bring to this world with just a little bit more gasoline on the fire. So it really now seemed like the right time to do it because I felt like we hit a glass ceiling as far as operational capital went.
Makes absolute sense. I've run a consumer products business and I know how hard working capital is to maintain that. So, what convinced you that Slow are the right partners?
I've been down this road before. I think when I heard about the Slow Creator Fund, I applied. I kept expectations low because you get your heart broken over and over, and you realize that this is a world where you need to catch the right people at the right time and be in the right place in your business. But all of any serious offer in the past had come with a caveat that I was unwilling to do, which was give up some control. And I think that I bet on myself too many times in 10 years and one to say I'm ready to give up the reins or to check in with somebody. And one of the things that I loved about meeting Billy is from day one, he was like, look, man, we just want to let you cook. We want to just be here to support you. We're here to invest in you. We're not investing in just your company. We think that you as a creator, as an entrepreneur, have something special and we're going to let you do it. And we just want to be here to support you. And I thought that was really important.
Good to hear. And Billy, what stood out for you in those early conversations?
Yeah, I mean, I think from the story that you've heard from Jonathan about how he's very much a serial entrepreneur. He's been building businesses and letting them go and trying new things and taking lots of different shots on goal. And he had built an amazing audience that really trusted him and loved him. And we did a lot of interviews with super fans of his and people that had commented on him, lots of all the wood blogs and the, people who are learning how to build this or build that or reviewing tools, like all had great things to say about him. You look at a list on Reddit, a Reddit post or one of the wood forums about like some tool that he had made or some jig that he had made, and he always came up on the list of like, oh, you should check out this guy's tools, you should check out this guy's channel, like Jonathan Katz-Moses, so kind of like won't lead you in the wrong direction. So very clear that there was like a passionate audience that was following him, and he was like amongst the top creators that were always mentioned in these blogs. And then yeah, you meet him and you're like, hey, this guy's like wants to build a massive business. So I think like when we kind of like meet creators and we kind of consider investment opportunities or considering backing folks, like we say to ourselves, like, hey, is this person going to do everything they can to win and continue to take shots on goal even when they get beat up? And so a lot of questions we asked were like, okay, man, what were the biggest mistakes you made? Not shy about them, no ego about it. Like, hey, listen, man, I over ordered this thing because it killed on Black Friday on this day, and now it's still sitting in my warehouse collecting dust. And like that's what being an entrepreneur is. And so it really fit. It really checked all the boxes. I think we think of things in like team and theme, where it's like, is this market interesting, like thematically? Like, is this a place where you can see a big business growing, where you can see this going from $0 or $5 million or $10 million a year to $100 million? Like, does it feel like this is a place where people are spending time, energy, money? And then team is generally one person, which is the creator. Like, are they resilient? Can they hire people? Do they have interesting stories about hiring people from nothing and bringing them into like key roles in their organization over years? Like, these are all things that show that there's an entrepreneur there, not just a creator.
That makes absolute sense. Well, let's learn
Yeah.
more about the products, Jonathan. So, can you tell us? I believe 70% of the revenue comes from your products now. Was that by design, or how has it evolved over time?
Certainly. I think the key thing that got me to like really take this business seriously was I kept creating products, and it's a slow process. Development can be a year or two, and you sell these things, but then you're sending people off platform to buy things that go with it, right? So I have this signature tool apron that you'll see in many of my videos, and I released that, and we sold 12,000 of those in the first video. It was such a massive success. But then underneath that apron, there's 3 other links. It's like, go here to buy the square that goes in the leather thing. Go here to buy the marking knife. And I look at, we've tracked data since day one, emails and links. And so I look where everyone's going on these links, and I'm doing $3 million in sales through affiliate links on top of the, $1 million I'm doing on my own. It's very simple math. Like, why am I putting other people's kids through college when I can put mine? And I said, look, we need to get the ancillary things in here that complement our products and build a brand that makes sense to people. But it makes sense based on my content, right? I've been teaching a certain way and recommending a certain amount of things. So those trajectories are very simple to suss out. And the feedback of being a creator is so much better than any company could ever get, because I get comments, I get direct messages, I answer the same questions day in and day out. And so it's very simple to say, here's what people are unsure about, and here's something I could bring in that makes them confident in a buying decision because I've recommended it.
What does that content flywheel look like? How do you think about the product and how frequently you post the content?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that the content is the best way to do product development. Some things we can't share because they're going to become patented products, but a lot of times we can share the idea, we can talk about it, and we can get feedback. And one of the, I have one sitting right here that we filed a patent on.
You happen to
This
have
is,
one right there?
Perfect
yeah,
timing.
I have 2. Both of these are some of the best examples. I did a video where we released a patented product. You can see it right there, the Katz-Moses Jig Square. It's now our #1 selling product. We released that last year. And I used it to do something I took a process that takes 2 hours down to 5 minutes. And I can't keep it in stock. I don't care how many I order, they're sold out before they get here every time. In that video, the #1 question was, I used a drill bit that countersinks the hole for the screw. The #1 question was, what was that countersink you used? What was that countersink you used? What was that? And I said, it sucks. I hate it. I can't even recommend it to you. That's what I say in my head. What I can do is create a new way to do it without a tool. The last one required an Allen key to adjust. This one has a snap ring, and it adjusts the depth. You watch, this part will come out here, and then it just locks into place. We filed a patent on this. This hasn't even been released yet. This came into my shop 2 weeks ago, getting the product launch ready. But all I did was take the massive amount of feedback. This video has 500,000 views, and there's 300 questions saying, what does that countersink you use? And all I hear from that is people want a good countersink. They're not finding things they like in the market, so we can create that. This is another one here. This is a product we filed a patent on. I just placed an order for. We have 5,000 of these coming, and it's an expandable miter slot runner. And it comes from years and years of being an expert on making something called a crosscut sled. It's where our #1 product prior to the Jig Square goes on, and people being frustrated by this aspect of it. So we solved it, and we solved it in a very innovative way. But it's just, I get to listen to my customers before they ever know they need something, just through the questions they ask in the content.
So to answer your question again that you asked earlier, Ian, which I assume that you're picking up on, which is like deep category expertise, right? Like which is why it's interesting in working with creators who are in a niche passion area, because they not only have a feedback loop with their audience, they know exactly what the audience needs and where there are gaps in the marketplace. And so Jonathan is like and by the way, we could sit here for 4 hours and hear about every product that he has like built out that really solves an issue that he spends dealing with in his shop all the time. And then he hears back from his audience. And like the fact that you're rapidly creating products that last a long time for an audience based on really understanding the category, really understanding the white space, not just like what his audience wants, but also looking at the entire market and saying, hey, what's missing here?
Yeah, that community feedback is something that's just unique from social content. And
Yeah.
Jonathan, you mentioned that you published that first video on YouTube, perhaps by accident, but you've primarily focused on YouTube. How do you think about YouTube and then content on other platforms?
YouTube, I like to say, it's where you get to know somebody. Instagram, TikTok. I mean, TikTok's really great place if you want to sell to angry prepubescent boys. It's on YouTube, I can talk to somebody. It can live forever. Whereas Instagram will, for the most part, stop recommending a popular video after about 3-4 weeks. and that content is gone. So it's great for quick uh, um, hits with potential customers or potential audience members, people who go, oh, you know what? That guy is saying, what he's saying, it makes sense. I want to check out more. I'm going to go follow the links in his bio over to his YouTube channel. But YouTube is a place where you can communicate with somebody on a regular basis. You don't have to stop communicating with them. I check the comments every day. I respond to comments regularly. Um, and so with YouTube, you can develop a loyal audience. And what I like to tell up and coming creators is they say, oh my God, I got a video with 100,000 views. That's the most I've ever gotten. I say, what's your least watched video in the last 6 months? Because those are the people that will click anything that you put out. And that's who you need to speak to. So you don't want to focus on virality. You want to focus on the people that will come and see you every time and trust you. And so I don't focus on doing content that will get 1 million views. I don't care. I've never cared about subscriber count or video count. I care about who responds, who wants to talk to me, who believes in me, and who trusts what I have to say. We're talking about my audience and knowing gaps in the market. I say every time I talk to people, I say, if it's in my shop, it's in my store. Or if it's in my store, it's in my shop, meaning there's nothing on my website that I don't personally use and enjoy, and I've curated that for you. You don't have to worry about it. If you click add to cart, not only will I stand behind it, like you can return it if you don't like it, but I know you'll use it because I use it and I beat the crap out of it every day and I love it.
They're very wise words there with regards to the audience. And have you looked at other creators in other niches like beauty or fitness and thought, oh, I could take a lesson from there and apply that to your world? Or is it all very organic? Just talk about what you see and how you're operating?
Certainly, I think that both of those areas are really difficult because a lot of those creators who are releasing products, I don't want to pigeonhole anybody, but sometimes they have a tendency to white label things, call it their own, and disassociate from their audience in an effort to take something that isn't innovative or not something they've created and sell it as something that people should buy. So the lesson I take from those is not to oversaturate. Like, listen, I could go out today, spend $250,000 on 50 products, have the company print my logo on the package and claim it as my own. But I like to say, here's things that I sell that other people make that I really love and I've curated for you. But then, the tools that are red and gray like this, those are CAM tools that you're going to love. So I really do. I think that there's a tendency with creators to get FOMO and say, I need to do products. Products have to happen. And so they take shortcuts in getting it to market. And I think if you take the right amount of time, bring in the right people, spend the real product development time, talking to other people, listening to other people's feedback, that's how you have massive success.
Yeah, I think from experience as well, I know that every creator can't have a product, right? There's only certain genres which really align to certain types of products. And I think you've really nailed that with, with your content and your genre. It's 2025, so I can't not ask about AI. I'm curious whether you use AI at all, whether you think about AI when you're producing your products or your content.
Certainly. I think AI is an incredible tool for increasing efficiency. I think that AI is a great way to proofread a script. It's a great way to flush out an idea. It's like a unpaid feedback loop. You can get feedback on things, but you have to be really careful because AI has a tendency to say everything you did is like the most genius. You're like, oh my God, great edit. I can't believe that's so captivating. And you're like, eh. And that's when you need to bring in the real people. But as far as efficiencies go, I mean, just billing, for example, right? I work with multiple other creators. We use our logistics that we've created, our $1 million logistics operation here to distribute their products from them that they sell through their website so they can avoid having to hire employees and use my network, my negotiated shipping rates. But billing gets really complicated, right? Because they've got 40 different shirts, they've got stickers, they've got this, that, and the other, and I have to tally that up. I can throw it in ChatGPT. I could throw, a 10 megabyte CSV file in there and say, tabulate every product for me, put it into a spreadsheet, and it's like, boom, I can do billing in 3 minutes, something that used to take me an hour in the past.
Can you expand on that work you do with other creators?
Sure. I think it's important to work in your community. And it became really clear for me early on that I had built something that nobody else had. And that was a logistics operation that actually worked and was built like I always say, build like you're a bigger company. And so we built it out to be, with the best software, the best people, everything early on. And so I allowed other creators to get in on that network. And so you say, hey, look, don't ship to your house, ship, you and your wife sitting up till 3 a.m. filling packages. That's not how you stay creative. I have the team here. give it to me. We'll do it. We'll take a small cut, much less than it would cost you to have an employee. And we'll do that for you. But then what that leads to is good ideas, right? Is they have great ideas to say, hey, Jonathan, what do you think about this? I said, let me develop that for you. I'll develop it. We can partner on it. And then they get to have massive hits like I've had in the past, but they get to do it without having to build an organization like mine. When you create products, you have two choices, right? It's 3PL, which I don't know if that, okay. It's 3PL or I don't know if you call it something different
Yes,
in English.
3PL.
We do, and I'm very familiar with it.
Or they have to hire people and buy tape machines, label printers, computers, scales. And then the thing that I hated when I was starting was that I paid retail shipping prices. That used to piss me off so much because it's like, how can I compete with anybody if I have to pay what anybody walking into the FedEx office pays? I should, as a business, I should get better rates. But then as you start shipping more and get more volume, you get way better rates on express shipments and all these things that make your customers happy, better tracking and all those things. And so we went to creators early on and said, hey, work with us. We will, for less than it would cost you to build out an organization, we will solve all these problems for you. It'll be 10 times better because we have the experience in product development and we have the experience in logistics. And you can create a business of your own that is built on the back of my organization. And that's paid dividends. Like we said earlier on, 70% of my revenue comes from my products, but another 10% comes from creators with great ideas. And so, we've had several huge successes with creators. And I think if I could identify any skill that I have, which would be similar to what Billy was talking about earlier, is identifying creators that have that it factor, the ability to speak to their audience and create a loyal base that will follow them into the trenches.
That's great to hear. I was smiling as you were describing that because prior to my current company, Electrify, I had a business working with content creators to sell products about 10 years ago. And I know all of the challenges there are to releasing and selling and distributing and fulfilling consumer products. And I know how hard it is for creators. And I spoke to so many creators that thought that they could do it themselves and they thought they could send the t-shirts from their garage. And by the time the third or the fourth day comes, the novelty wears off and it's just not practical for them to do it. So it's great to hear you've set that up.
I I think that's also a really interesting signal for us. I think there's like an interest and a tendency, and I think there's for good reason for creators to build digital products, and that totally makes sense. Two-sided marketplaces or solutions to problems within their niche verticals that are product first. They obviously have exit velocity that's really interesting to people, and there once you build it once, it's done. You iterate on it. There's obviously a lot of people who are funding and supporting those types of products, and I think they're interesting and great. I also think something is great signal when a creator has like built actually a supply chain and has actually built their own warehouse and has actually achieved velocity with product sales, and they have gotten past it's an interesting moat, right, to get past. And you have to make sure that it's something that you feel like it can scale, and it's always harder building physical products and innovating in a space, and that isn't just white labeling goo in a bottle. Totally understand that, but there is something that is signal for us at Slow where it's like, hey, look what this guy's built. Like, that's not easy. And if they can do that, and we think that there's like a lot of room to grow, it really shows the initiative. And I think like Jonathan said, it's like collaborating with other creators on product builds. And I think it would be really cool for you to talk about the shoe box that you built, Jonathan, but like I
Certainly.
think not only just collaborating creatively on product builds with them and the infrastructure that they need to go from idea to distribution is like I don't think it's 100% of his business, and as he said, it's a small percentage of his business now, but it's how you interact with the community beyond just like, hey, let's collab on a video and like share each other's audiences and grow our audiences. Is like, how do we roll up our sleeves and build a product together? And it's a really great way to engage with your community. I mean, Ian, if it's okay with you, I'd love to, like, there's two products in particular, or two kind of like collaborations in particular that I think are interesting that Jonathan did. One was the shoebox idea, which was more of like a creative collaboration, and then also the knife, the Mothman knife. If Jonathan, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, sure. Yeah,
absolutely.
Is that all right with you, Ian?
absolutely. Go for it.
Yeah.
So product development is incredibly hard. And I am the guy that people go to with ideas. And like Billy was just saying, I think the most valuable thing that I've created is an infrastructure of factories, engineers, of people who are great at sourcing, people who are incredible at iterating and all those things. And so when someone comes to me with an idea, and I again, sixth sense for like, oh, shoot, that's a winner. We go to work, and 99% of people, if they said, I have a product, where do I start? I mean, you should have started 10 years ago at college, because I have gone through the school of hard knocks and I've been beaten down over and over and over. And so a friend of mine who is just a phenomenal creator, the guy is the most creative, passionate, D-ridden maniac. And he loves to think, and he's so smart, but he had no idea where to start. And he said to me, we were literally sitting in a hotel room at a conference having a whiskey. He's like, you know what nobody's ever done is a folding chisel knife. And my alarm bells went off. I said, holy smokes, that's incredible. It's so hard not to swear there. I was that excited. And so we went to work, and boy, did we fail. We failed over and over and over. The first manufacturer I got a sample from, I didn't even want to send it to him because I was so embarrassed, but I felt like I had to. He's part of the review process. I sent it to him, and he called me, said, he was trying to be real nice. He's like, are you sure that you can do this? And I was like, yes, I promise you this is part of the process. And that's what most creators don't get about good product development is, man, it won't be here in 6 months. There's no chance. It'll be here in 6 months from the day you decide you have a finished product. But the work that goes into it to get there. And so we built that infrastructure, and we've created this chisel knife, and we released it last year. It did over $1.5 million in sales in the last 14 months. We've gone through nearly, I think we're at about 13,000 in sales so far, 13,000 units. We have a mini version of it coming out, and it's right behind me. You mind if I grab it?
Go for it.
So this is the new version that's coming out. This is the mini version, but you can see it's a knife on this edge, but a chisel on this edge. This is a little bit more like everyday carry friendly, and it actually was made for you guys, because the first one we released was 3 3/4 inches long, which in the UK has to be under 3 inches to carry. And so we lost a huge segment of our market and still did really well. But we came out with this, and you have a good product when people are upset. A small part of people are upset when you release it, because you've pushed the envelope into something where people just, it evokes emotion. And I know when I release something, I say, this is the world's first ever pocket chisel. And they say, no, it's not. There was this one 10 years ago. There's this one. It's like, absolutely, there is not. This is the world's first folding pocket chisel knife. And then you release it, and it makes people go nuts. They talk and all these things. And that was an incredible success. And now we're developing a whole line of tools under his name, the bourbon blade line. We've got multi-tools coming out. We've got a razor blade coming out, and a series of things that people are going to love. But when you think about another project I did, which was this shoebox, there's a creator on YouTube who is quite possibly the nicest guy. He goes around and he does artwork for people. He makes custom shoes for celebrities. His name is Marco. And he's getting into woodworking, and he reached out to a friend of mine and said, hey, I need help. I can't build this. I have no idea how to do it. My friend said, oh, I'm too busy. Here's my friend, Jonathan. So we started talking. He said, I want it before Mookie, not Mookie Betts. It was Ellie De La Cruz, who's this incredible all-star shortstop for the Cincinnati Reds, which is baseball for you British people. So I went to work. I said, this is an incredible way to develop a relationship with a potential person I could work with more. But right now I can do something that is mind-blowing and creative. And so I built an absolute replica Nike shoebox out of walnut. And it was so beautiful. And his reaction at the end of the video was like, how did you do this? I mean, what do you mean? There's no lines, there's no seams. This is most incredible thing I've ever seen. And then that was in his video. So I have this crossover with this really young, up and coming, huge creator, to the point that people at my daughter's school, she's in elementary school, like, I saw you on Marco's channel, which she thinks is awesome. But we have this creative endeavor. And now we're talking about what's next. He saw the success in that community, and he got to see my operation. And now we're working on products. We're trying to figure out what's next. But collaborating with other creators is such a vital part of this industry and being successful in products, because operating on an island is really going to leave you on an island. But I think that getting to collaborate with other creators is sort of kind of what Slow Ventures and the Creator Fund is all about. Is it puts people together. And I think some of the creators I've met through Billy and Megan and Slow has been also really cool.
It's so lovely to hear your passion for the products and the content. What's the 5-year vision? What are you aiming for next?
A part of this investment that has been so cool, I talked about early on, is why take investment was we're juggling operations capital. It makes it impossible to grow. But now this investment comes in. I've hired help in my product development team. I've hired help in my marketing team. I've hired help in my admin team. So now I can focus on the thing that gets the biggest results, but also the thing I love the most, which is creating. So we've greenlit a bunch of products, which I think will exponentially scale us well over 8 figures. And then we're going to work on ways to touch our audience and like have people experience the brand in a way that is meaningful to them. And so the Texas Woodworking Festival is coming up. We're the platinum sponsor. We're throwing the after party. It's basically an event we've started owning to bring people together. And estimations, we sponsored it for the first time last year. Estimations our attendance is going to 5x this year because we're involved. And that gives us an opportunity to speak directly to people in person and do all those things. And it creates an opportunity for people in your niche community to gather and share experience and get to know each other and create a place where they can feel that same community that I get in the comment section of my videos. And so we're trying to find ways to connect those people and scale and do it in a meaningful way without sacrificing the values that I've had in my whole career, which is, we are not being beholden to corporate America. We're doing this our way, and our way only. And I think that it's really fun for people to get to see that in person. So we're finding ways to engage with them in that way and create different ways to educate them as well.
I'm excited to see those next products and the event as well. Billy, what does the next step look like for Slow? How are you involved in the work with Jonathan?
Uh, Listen, man, our job is to stay out of their way. So, there's a couple reasons that we post investment kind of we're not that involved day to day. One is just technically with the $65 million fund, it's not like we can have several really skilled operators sitting on boards and helping drive the direction of the company. Like, it's just not feasible to do that. And our job is to pick great creators that are building their own businesses. Now, they don't have to be at the scale that Jonathan is. They can be earlier stage and have a great idea, and you can trust them to that they're going to we could have met Jonathan several years ago while he was like, hey, I'm going to launch this thing, and let him cook from there. Or we can do it now when he's achieved some good scale and is ready to get to the next stage. But our job is to kind of stay out of the way. Now, to be clear, Jonathan and I have sat over chili quiles and coffee and talked about content and creative strategy, because I think we both love to do it, and I can add a little value there and kind of talk through it and connect into some folks. But our job is to pick people who are going to build it on their own and stay out of their way. And so that's kind of like post investment. We really kind of say, call us when you need us, and happy to make connections, happy to help you think through things and be a sounding board and a friend of the family. But we let them cook. We don't stay on board. We don't have controls. We don't involve ourselves in the day-to-day operations. We say, hey, call me when you need me. I do bother them a little bit about with some text messages of hey, you want to do some press? You want to meet this guy, Ian, and chat? But after that, it's going to be when he'll call us and we'll come. Yeah.
It's so lovely to hear the story. Johnson, yes.
Yeah, I think if I can speak to that too, they were incredible about making that very clear from the get-go. But they also answer their phone whenever I call. So if I have a question, I have a need, or I'm just stuck on a problem, I'll text Billy or Megan and say, hey, can I talk something through with you for 10 minutes? And they will. And they've helped me really shape some decisions in a meaningful way, knowing full well they can't, be like, you have to do this. So it's really good to, I think as you scale any business, you lose mentorship because less and less people have done what you've done. And so when you get the opportunity to get smart people in a room, I think always good things come out, and they've always had the door open policy with me.
Well, Jonathan, Billy, thank you so much for sharing your time and the story. I think I speak for everyone when I say we're excited to see what's next, and good luck with the next phase of the journey.
Awesome. Thank you, Ian. I really appreciate you having us on.
Thanks, bud. Appreciate it.